Welcome to the 217 podcast, presented by Decatur Earth Mover Credit Union and hosted by me, Jess Younghouse. In the podcast, we're going to talk about the Decatur community and the people that make it great. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the 217 podcast. I'm here with Samantha Schendel of the studio downtown. So welcome. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me. This is weird.
Samantha is the owner of the studio downtown. So she's actually, I say welcome to the studio, but she works here every day.
It's actually my studio.
And she typically sits in with us and listens to the recordings. And so we had her on to talk about today about being a small business owner and being creative. And so I'm excited for the conversation.
Me too. I'm very excited.
So we decided just a few minutes ago that a creative brain is right-brained.
Right.
Okay. So what's it like growing up creative? Let's talk about that.
So I would say I'm actually both.
Okay.
And I think to be a creative, and because you can be a creative and not own a business. Mm-hmm. And you can own a business and not business. You can own a business. You can own a business and not be creative. Uh-huh. So I'm more creative, but I can also operate in the business side if I need to. For me, being creative looked a lot different than probably most people. Mm-hmm. Accents, easy for me.
Yeah.
Mimicking, learning to imitate.
You should have went to theater school.
Oh, that was a dream. For real. Like, I wanted to, but I didn't. I went to music school, and now I don't use any of that. So, I would write on the walls. I would draw on my freshly painted walls, which I got in trouble for.
Okay. Very good.
I was just different. I was not athletic. Mm-hmm. I don't have that hand-eye in that way. Mm-hmm. I can in playing the piano.
And music, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not, I wasn't an athlete.
Yeah, music's more rhythm and actually math too. Speaking of left brain and right brain, I mean, music.
Memorization for that was easy for me. Yeah. But then once it got to geometry, I'm out.
Yeah.
Cheated my whole way through. Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Braun at DCS. We actually all got caught one time.
It was a ring.
It was bad.
It's not good.
We were all trading papers and just 10 out of 10 got it. Like, it was bad. Yeah, I think we had like 2-week detention.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was serious punishment.
It was serious.
For everybody.
Yeah. And I think there was only actually one smart kid in there that didn't need it. There's only one out of everyone. He was like genuinely getting all the answers right.
Only one does not bite the dust.
Yeah. So, and I think he was covering for other people, so he still got in trouble. Anyway, I digress. Anytime science became part of it, I was also out. So like I took chemistry for a day, was like, I'm not doing this. I'm sorry. Put me in something else. They created a class called advanced biology.
Yeah.
And that's on private schools.
Yeah.
Decatur Christian.
Yes. You can do that.
Shout out to Decatur Christian. So I had a just different life. I didn't have any friends that were like me. Mm-hmm. And I have 3 older stepsisters and then 1 younger sister who's a half sister. And she is different too. Mm-hmm. She's not creative. She ended up being a nurse. She's really highly intelligent. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, I grew up an only child because I would only go over there every other weekend.
Sure.
But I spent a lot of time playing by myself, creating games, like putting together concepts. Mm-hmm. And I still do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like growing up as creative.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people would be like, I was lonely. I wasn't lonely because I had all the people in my head. So it's fine.
That is different.
I can like flip back with accents. And so I would like create these characters. Anyway.
Not creepy.
I'm going to have no clients after this. So
yeah. Sorry about this.
They're going to be like
asking.
And we're done. Sorry for asking. You need to clip that. That was funny.
So where did you go to school?
So locally here
DCS.
in Decatur Christian. Okay. I actually started at LSA.
Okay.
And then my mom homeschooled me for a few years, which was, I think, so important and so great because I missed a lot of the time that kids start picking up bad habits from being around other children.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so I didn't have a lot of the insecurity that I think a lot of other kids had. So she pulled me out right at the right time and then put me back at St. James when I was I think I was in 6th grade. And then I ended up at DCS when they closed. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And then college.
I went to Nyack School of Music.
Okay. Where's
and
that?
when I say went, I mean I went to my music classes and didn't go to anything else.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Perfect. Where's that?
It's in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long did you spend there?
I think it was like a year and a half. Not a long time. I didn't finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then came back here.
Came back here.
Okay. When you came back, what did you start doing?
So I had worked at Lowe's before college and then intermittently during college. And I got a job at Lowe's again in the garden department, which I loved because I would get there at 4:30 in the morning, water flowers until 1 o'clock, and then I would go home.
Okay.
And the best part was that I would get to sing. I would put my headphones because no one else is there.
Sure.
So I would just put my headphones in and just sing at the top of my lungs until people started arriving at like 8 a.m.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like that was my introduction into the workforce.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that that wasn't normal. So
Not a normal 8 to 5.
not a normal 8 to 5. I was like, this is great. Everyone should be working. Why are you in college?
Yes.
That's how I felt.
And so after Lowe's, like when did you got into photography?
I did.
So was that the next step into creative career? Like what was creative career?
So my creative outlet during all of this was always music. It was always my outlet. But I've been taking pictures since I was really little. My mom had a Canon and we would just get in the car. She'd keep her camera in the car and we would just get out and take photos like everywhere. And she was always taking pictures of me, but then she would also let me take pictures of like wildlife, you know, nature. And it was super fun and it was creative. And she always did it. And so I liked it. So I always appreciated it. And I was always taking like everyone's social media photos just on my phone. And I loved it. It was my favorite thing. So we would do that all the time, me and my sister, me and my friends. And that was kind of that was my creative outlet. So my husband and I, we met at Lowe's and then we went to work for a company that subcontracted from them. Okay. And the story of how I ended up here is long. Okay. But I will kind of condense it. We worked for this company. It was Eat or Be Eaten, and they subcontracted for Lowe's. And there was 3 other huge companies that also subcontracted. They wanted to get down to 1. Okay. So it was like you had to literally eat the other companies or be eaten. Sure. Our company was absorbed by another. We got let go. My husband and I both worked for this company. Okay. So in one day we had just bought our house, which I don't know why no one was like, hey, don't buy your dream house at 25, but everyone was really excited. And it ended up, we're still there. But we had this huge mortgage and we get let go and we're like, what are we going to do? And I had started my business kind of. I was kind of just doing it for friends and family and I was playing around and thinking about going full time. Sure. But I didn't know that it was going to be, pedal to the metal. I have to make this work because we have a mortgage and, you know.
Bills need paid.
So that started, and it was like a God thing completely. I just knew that he was going to provide, and he did. Yeah. And so it evolved from couples, weddings, to then getting the studio, headshots, and literally every creative outlet I could possibly.
So how long ago how long ago did photography business really start?
4 years.
Okay. So you've been fully invested in this for 4 years.
4 years. Like no other job.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you tell somebody to turn their creativity into a career? Like, what do you have to do?
I encourage people all the time to do that. I have a lot of friends, like if you have a dream, if you enjoy creating, if you're super inspired by things and this is what you actually love, but you feel like there's no way I can make money doing this because I need to have insurance. I need to have a normal, 8 to 5 job. I'm always encouraging people to quit their jobs.
Yeah.
And just go for it, because life is too short. Mm-hmm. And you also can, I know that every good and perfect gift comes from God. This is my worldview. This is my belief system. Everything that I have is his, and it comes from him. And I believe that every good thing that everyone else has, every gift they have, also comes from God. And I trust God to provide for me. I'm not my provider. And I encourage people to also trust God as their provider. So that's kind of how I live my life. And that's how I encourage people. I'm never like, hey, jump out of the airplane with nothing.
Yeah.
That's never my advice.
Not the same thing.
Not the same thing. But I think if you have a good foundation, you have a plan. You have to be realistic with what it's going to take.
What's the grind? I mean, the
grind is everything.
What? Yeah.
It's 24/7. You don't quit your full-time job to work less on your creation. You quit your full-time job to literally spend every waking moment working on that, perfecting your craft, doing everything that you can to learn about your craft, but also about business and how to deal with people. The biggest hurdle is dealing with people.
It's like that with everything.
It is.
It's like that with everything.
And if you don't know how to do that in your full time, you're also going to
struggle. I mean, you'll struggle with that everywhere. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
It's the biggest hurdle.
Yep. Were your parents concerned when you went to music school?
Yeah, for sure. My dad was, for sure. I have a very funny memory that's sticking out in my mind, but I'm not going to share it. But my dad knew. He was like, why are you doing that? Because I felt like everyone goes to school, but I'm not going to go to school for stuff I don't care about. I love music. That must be the way. But what he knew was I also had to take my gen eds, and that wasn't something I was going to do. And I didn't. I didn't go to English. I'm sorry. I know how to read, write, and speak.
Right.
What are we doing?
Yeah. Why am I having to rehash
you don't need 40 grand. No. This is stupid.
Agree.
A year?
I agree.
Crack cocaine is what you're smoking. So I feel like he was right, but I had this experience that I needed to have. I went and I figured out how to be on my own. I figured out how to, I didn't know that there was anything outside of Decatur.
Yeah. I mean,
needed that.
So your parents took you to New York and dropped you off when you were 18?
Actually, no. I found out I was accepted to this school when I was on the way there. I packed up my car, was on my way. I've always been like fly by the seat of my pants, and I'm just going to take a leap of faith, whatever. Yeah. So that was always my thing. And I mean, here we are. It did eventually pay off because look, but that's been my whole life.
Yeah.
So even at college. And I think my dad was like, this is a bad idea, but
they have to trust at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it led me here.
Yeah.
And then, but he actually didn't know that I could sing because I never really had shared that with him. And when I came home from school, I distinctly remember he played the guitar and I sang the song that he was playing, and it was like he stopped he had no idea.
He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the TikTok videos where you record the reaction
of your parents.
Yeah.
He had no idea.
Yeah.
So I think if he had known before I went that I could, then it would have been different. But but I think it happened for a reason, and I'm super grateful for that experience because it opened me up to something that you really can try everything.
Yeah.
Try.
Take the leap.
Take the leap.
Okay. What is the studio downtown?
So we're sitting in the studio downtown. The studio downtown is a space for creators.
Okay.
And there's two parts. There's the pod space, which is where we're at right now. It's for people to come in and record either audio or video podcasts. And there's different sets. You have the lighting. We have the equipment. So that's one space. And then the other space is where I usually am, which is my photography studio, which I rent out to other photographers, content creators, small business owners who maybe want to create their own content and don't have an aesthetically pleasing place to do so. It's I love the community part that you get from the studio.
Sure.
Like, you know, you came in and we were all sitting in there talking and it was all business related, but we were having a good time.
Sure.
And it brings people with common interests into a common ground. If you're a creative and you do this full time, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So much. Like you're editing by yourself. You're doing your shoots by yourself. This kind of brings you in. So even though you don't have coworkers, it feels like you have other people who are having the same experience you are. So it's awesome. I love it here. We have invested so much into props, backdrops, just making the space a great place to be. Yeah. And so yeah, it's available for rent and you can become a member or you can rent a la carte. So
yeah, that's awesome. We do get, I mean, everybody that comes is just blown away. I mean, you probably get that every day. People coming in for the first time. Yeah. I didn't know this was here. This is beautiful. The windows are floor to ceiling right on Main Street. So
it's shocking because you would have no idea.
No.
Unless you knew it was here, you wouldn't know it was here. So it's... I like that feeling. Somebody asked me the other day if we were ever going to do like a street sign above the door. And I kind of just don't want to because I love the anonymity. Yes. And it feels like this exclusive. Yeah,
it does. Absolutely.
You know?
Totally.
So,
okay.
I think that we're going to keep it this way.
The studio downtown's on social media.
It is. The studio downtown.decatur, I think, on Instagram.
And then... That's a website too.
Yeah, the studio downtowndecatur.com.
So that's how you can get in contact.
Yeah.
Perfect. What's it like being a small business owner?
It is challenging. It's very rewarding, but it's also like when you fail at certain things, it hurts a little more because it's like
it's very personal.
It's everything. But it's also the best thing I've ever done.
Would you encourage other people to do it?
Absolutely. Especially if like I said, if you have a dream, if you have something that you are super passionate about and you're realistic with yourself about what it's going to take to make it successful, then I would say go for it. Yeah. I am a big believer. There are some people who can go to work and work for other people and they are so happy to do that because they're not stressed out. They don't want to carry everything. Right. They don't want to be responsible for the whole thing. Right. And we need people like that. Right. I'm thankful that my husband is able to go work at 8 a.m. And he's,
clock out.
And clock out and be done. Yeah. And there is a place for that, but there's also something I love is when people can work for themselves. It's just the best thing, especially if you're someone who has a hard time with authority. Sorry. Yeah. Who, you know, is just...
Is that that's a personality thing?
Do you think so? I think it is.
Because I'm a little bit like that too.
Are you?
Yeah. Okay. Just like I don't want to be told what to do. I would just like to tell people.
And that's why you're the VP of marketing.
Right. Yeah. Like I would just.
You're not the one executing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is how I feel. Like the other day we were talking and I was like, I feel like it's bragging to call myself a visionary, but that's what I am. And I
100%.
Yeah, I can't come underneath someone else's vision because I have my own vision.
Yeah. And I also think there's a misconception about that. Like, I don't think that calling yourself a visionary is bragging, because there's people that look at us and think like, you've lost your mind. Yeah. You're nuts. Yeah. I don't understand why you can't focus on one task. You know what I mean? There's people that would say like a visionary is a nut job. Yeah. And that's fine, you know, because a lot of times it's broad spectrum ideas.
My friends were just making fun of me. They were like, I feel like you're sitting at home, you know, watching a movie and you're like, ooh, I have an idea. And that's what happens. Yes. And I have all these like, you know, people talk about having intrusive thoughts and they're usually bad, but mine are just ideas of things to do. And so that's a real thing.
It's a completely different like skill set too, I think.
Yeah. And so my mom, when I was growing up, she would always be like, be original. if I would say like whatever the kids were saying, you know, the lingo, I don't know. What's something that we used to say when we were growing up?
I think, well, we still say bet.
We still say bet.
I don't know.
I don't know. Just things like that. She would be like, who says that? And I would say everyone. She was like, be original.
Yeah,
like
right.
come up with your own thing. And so that is like, I hear that constantly.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to, when I have ideas, make sure I'm not copying someone else and I'm being original, something that no one else here is doing, especially in Decatur, because we don't live in Chicago.
No, it's still a small community.
It feels huge because it takes 40 minutes to drive from one end to the other, but it's not huge. So I strive to be creative and original.
So, okay. So what's your favorite part about being a small business owner? People.
I love people. So being a small business owner, I love meeting new people, getting to work with new people, you know, telling their story. That's kind of what it is. It's storytelling, whether it's their brand or their life, like being part of their huge moments, like Judah.
Yeah, sure.
Who I love so much. I've known him forever, but I got to shoot their elopement and then their maternity and then their baby. Like it's just being a part of all these huge moments in their lives. And I walk in their house and my work is all that they have on their walls.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing. Yeah. And then with people's brands, like I see their social media or their sponsored ads that come out and like, I took that. It's crazy. Or billboards. That's my work.
How difficult is it to tell somebody's story? Let me re-ask that.
Okay.
What's the most difficult story you've had to tell?
Oh. Oof. The most difficult story I've had to tell.
Not because maybe the story's difficult, but because the client maybe doesn't even know what the heck story they want to tell.
Oh,
and
I
you
fire
have
them.
to you let it go. Yeah. I mean, how do you function?
Yeah, you
can't tell a story if somebody else doesn't know the story.
I send people back to the drawing board. So if they're, unless, however, they know what they want to do and they don't know what they want their name to be. So almost all my friends that started businesses, I came up with the name, what the branding should look like, what their, packaging should look like. And I out of my love for them, like I have this relationship with them. I know everything about them. I'm able to pull the best parts out and help them create visuals to elevate their brand. So that is something I love doing and I'm super passionate about. If I don't know anything, if you're like, I want to do something different, I just don't know what it is. Okay, well, what are your passions? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have hobbies? I can't really help you until you have a clear idea of what it is that you want to do. I can't really do anything for you.
What businesses do you work with? What are some businesses you work with?
I have worked with many. Probably my favorite has been 310, which is a jewelry, which she's a friend of mine. And then Future You, which is another friend of mine. Beauty and fashion are the ones that I just like. I feel like I thrive in. I'm so inspired by. And it's my favorite work.
Yeah. Do you ever go pitch your services to people?
I have. However, I am always praying and asking that God would send me the right people. That is my biggest thing. I don't want to tell you why you need me.
Yeah.
I want you to have a need and come to me.
Yep.
That's where it's at for me.
Yep.
I don't want to sell myself to you.
Yeah.
Well, if you're interested, then I can sell you and tell you.
Yeah.
But I'm not one to go out and get.
Do you go, so like if you're on Instagram and there's, you see, a business or whatever.
Yeah.
That you feel like you could help.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know you.
It's possible. I mean, I've never thought about, well, here's the thing. I feel like so many people slide into the DMs. That's not the way that I do things. If I see that and it's local, I will go into their store.
Go into the store.
Yeah.
Yep.
Introduce myself and develop a relationship with them. And if finding out what I do, then they want to, I'm more than happy to. But most people who are on Instagram and I see their stuff and it looks terrible, they're not ones to value it anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't want to waste any time with someone who doesn't already see a value of what I do. Because if you're like, my iPhone's good, go for it. Maybe it's not in your budget. Or maybe you just haven't evolved and you don't want to, or you're afraid to, which that's a lot of people. And I am not here to hold your hand in that way.
Hold your hand through that process.
Unless you want me to, but I'm not going to pull your teeth out to do it. Like, just no.
Yep. Fair enough.
Not for me.
That's fair enough.
But I've learned that. Like, that's something that over the last 4 years, I have learned. You really only want 10% of what comes to you. You don't want everyone. Yeah. And I've learned that. Yeah. The hard way.
Is it hard? Yeah. What's a hard way story? You don't have to name names.
Hard, like, it's just, not everyone is your client. And that's not saying anything bad about that person or you. If something's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. And trying to force it because you care about that person, which has always been my thing, is that I love people and I want to help them. But if we're not adding value to each other, it's not a good fit, and that is okay. Yeah. Yep. And walk away as soon as you have that feeling that's like, this isn't right. Don't force it. Yeah. Trust that. Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely like a relationship.
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's marriage. Yeah. And if you're in too deep, then it's divorce, and that's even more painful.
Right,
so,
it's
like,
worse.
The second the red flags are there,
absolutely.
Hasta la see ya.
Who are some of your favorites? You talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Future You, 310. I've done a lot of really cool one-off shoots. One of my favorite shoots I've ever done was for Future You in Palm Springs, and we had a 5-day shoot. It was massive. It was the launch of her campaign, and it was just like, it's so cool. Like, those photos have been in magazines, and that's cool. Yeah, to me. So, anything beauty. My favorite client is usually female, with the exception of a few great guys who have awesome personalities who I love just to work with. But usually female who is passionate about a thing, whether it's a service or something they're literally creating. Okay. That is my ideal client, and that is where I kind of thrive.
Okay. What about corporate?
I love corporate headshots. I love, like, what we do for Earth Mover, the video podcast. Nick is a great producer. We kind of talk about what we want it to look like, what we want it to feel like. And it's collaborative. And I love that. Like, I love doing product photography too for different corporations, but that's kind of my line.
Okay. Yeah. Who's a dream client? I know you said you don't like to sell yourself, but
I don't.
If you could work for anybody.
I am not okay.
I am not okay.
I am not okay. I am not someone who flips out and fangirls. That's not me at all. I've met a lot of celebrities, famous people, and it's just like the hysteria. I don't feel that way. And even the celebrities or the people that would be dream clients, I don't even want to say they're dream clients, because what if the expectations can't be met? And I feel like if they approached me and it was the right thing, it could be a number of people, but I don't even want to single it out, because I just,
I think instead of like putting it into like, this person, it's a client that really respects and loves what you do and takes it and runs with it.
Exactly. Like that. Like someone who I can influence in a good way and share what I know and who will take it and run with it. That is my dream client.
Right.
And I love seeing women thrive.
It's International Women's Day.
This
isn't going to be on International Women's Day, but it is today that we're recording.
I know. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a good day.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Another thing is having an aligned purpose. Like, not that we have to agree on everything, but what I do is super vulnerable and super intimate. And if we don't have any common ground, chances are it's not a good fit. But if we have aligned purpose, aligned values, and can run together, then that's another dream situation for me. Truly.
So talk about a little bit that perked a thought in my head. Years ago, my old boss sent me, it was after she'd retired and I had taken over her job, sent me like a Proverbs email like thing that she gets, like a devotional, I guess. Yeah. Devotional. And it talked about just how being creative is vulnerable, but it takes, a pretty substantial amount of comfortability and confidence. And so how does that work in your life, or how do you help people through some of that?
Okay. So, we've talked about God already, but this is just my world. This is the lens that I view everything through. So if we're made in the image of God, which I believe that we are, and he's a creator, then we too are creators. Everyone is a creator in some capacity. You might be creating, mechanics for a car, and that's a totally different field than what I do. But it is a lot of people are like, I'm not creative in that way. I'm not creative. And yeah, we might not be creative in the same way, but you are creative. You were made this way. You're designed this way. And that is something that I always encourage people to understand.
Sure.
And a lot of people, I don't work exclusively with Christians. I know I said aligned purpose and aligned vision and aligned, values, but so much of what I do is talking about God. That sounds so weird to say because I'm a photographer and a podcast producer and, I have this studio, but so much of what takes place here is talking to people about God, what God wants for them, what God dreams for them, and pulling those things that are deep inside of them out of them and doing it in a place that's not going to make them feel stupid. That's going to make them feel supported, that's going to make them feel like a rock star. And everyone has something to give and something to offer. And I feel like I have a pretty good gift of identifying that in people and pulling it out of them. So a lot of it is through prayer. I pray before every client. I pray for every big project that I do. Everything that I do, there's so much prayer happening and then just trusting that God is going to make all the wrong things right.
Yep.
So,
what's your favorite thing about Decatur?
Oh my gosh, I love Decatur. I love Decatur. This is my hometown, and I didn't know how much I loved it until I went to New York and then came back. When I would come home from New York, I think pizza in New York is trash. Shoot me, whatever. It's disgusting. The water's different. It's terrible. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. I would hit Monocle's because there's no Monocle's in New York. I would hit Jimmy John's because there was no Jimmy John's at the time. They now have them in New Jersey, I think. And La Gondola. So those are my, and El Ro. Those are my favorite food spots, which I know is not what you were asking, but
that's
shout out to all those places.
That's part of it.
It's part of it.
It is part of it.
Because people are always like, we have nothing to eat here. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
There's, there's places.
There's places, okay? Also, have you ever been to that taco truck that's by the Sundown Lounge? Or not Sundown. It's by Earth Mover.
Yeah, that's the Sundown.
Is it?
The Smack and Tacos?
Yes. Yeah. Have you been there?
I haven't been there, but I hear really good things. I know.
Okay. It's going to be April soon.
Yeah.
You have to go.
Another taco food truck people are into is La Perlita has one.
Also Fire Flame.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway, so Decatur. I grew up here. I would come home from New York, and it's the people. Mm-hmm. I love the people here. Mm-hmm. We live in a factory town, middle class McDonald's eaten town. Mm-hmm. And the people here matter. Mm-hmm. And there's some of the funniest people I've ever met live here in Decatur. Some of the most creative people I've ever met live here in Decatur. Mm-hmm. The people that come out of Milliken, it's unreal.
Yeah.
The talent.
I know.
And the majority of those people were born here.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think whenever you grow up in a town where there's not a lot, quote unquote, to do, you are constantly coming up with your own things. So
events,
there's a lot of ingenuity happening here. So I love the lake. Mm-hmm. I love, we have hundreds of churches in this town. Mm-hmm. It's unreal. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of great organizations, which you've had on the podcast. Mm-hmm. There is something so special about this town. I'm downtown constantly because I'm at the studio, but whenever you're downtown, people look at you and smile as you're walking by.
Yep.
Someone will say hi to you even if they don't know you. Yep. It is so friendly. I think that it's a great place to live and a great place to raise a family. And I know a lot of people would disagree. Mm-hmm. And to that I say, go find better.
Yeah, it is a little like that, I feel like.
Yeah,
go find better.
Go find better.
I don't know. It's funny, like the last week I've heard people use like the adage, oh, what's everybody say? There's nothing to do here. But I don't think, we've all noted that that's just not true anymore.
It's not. We have the Devon.
And I feel like it's been like that for a while.
It's just harder to find, I think.
It's harder to find. Yeah. And also, here's the other thing. People are so busy already. You have kids.
Things, yeah, right.
And how many kids do you have?
5.
And how many sports are there?
The limit does not exist.
Okay, the limit does not exist. So people are so busy doing all these things.
Right.
And so they don't have time to go explore and find new, we have one of the most beautiful conservation areas in the state of Illinois, Rock Springs.
Yes.
If you're an outdoors person, you know this.
Yes.
So we have endless things to do. Another thing that I think about all the time is when people talk bad about Decatur. Mm-hmm. My grandma said this to me. She said, wherever you go, there you are. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so true. Mm-hmm. If you are unhappy here, it's a high probability that you're going to be unhappy anywhere else.
Right.
Too. Yeah. Wherever you go, there you are.
Yep. You have to find good in everywhere.
You do.
In everyone.
You do. And so, yeah, I think that we have a great community. I love our people. I think this is just like the best place to live.
What's one thing you wish was here that isn't?
Oh, Chick-fil-A. Oh, wow.
Were we going to get one before COVID struck? Was that a thing? I do too. Because remember, they would have the pop-up tent in Target parking lot.
Yes. And
that
Chick-fil-A, if you're watching, and I know you are.
I know. Tag them.
It's time. It's time. But I feel like if there's anything, I feel like it's going to be created. Whatever isn't here that I want to see here, we're going to have to create it. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to do it. And that's what I want to do. That's why I started the studio downtown. There was nothing like it here. Mm-hmm. Let's just make it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. No one's going to care for our town like we are.
Yep.
No one's going to do, the cool new thing better than us. Yep. We know our town.
Yep.
And I don't see people coming from Florida or California to start things here. No. Like if you have a dream, if you have something that you want to do to make Decatur better, freaking do it.
Yep.
Talk to people, get grants, get whatever you can.
Yeah.
There's a grant for literally everything.
Yep. And there's people willing to help too.
So many people.
There's a support system here that you might not know you have.
And also when I started this, I didn't realize how many deep pockets were in this town. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of deep pockets who desire to see great change here. Mm-hmm. And you just have to start talking to people and knocking on doors. And I think that you'll find it.
Yep.
This is the best town.
I agree. Anything else to say?
I love our downtown.
I do too.
What's
the best spot downtown?
The gin mill.
I know.
The gin mill's fire. We had it for lunch today. Mm-hmm. So good, that blackened chicken Caesar wrap. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love our little shops. Mm-hmm. So when I was little, we would have Mommy and Me days on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. We would go to Dell's and we would go to, what was her name? Franny? Mm-hmm. Franny. Mm-hmm.
I went there.
Get pie. The candles, the potpourri.
Do you guys remember Cafe Tiffany's? There was just a picture posted.
So hilarious story. Mom worked at Franklin Travel.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And she would get up at 5 a.m. and go work, which, oh my gosh, maybe that's where I get it because I'd be doing that. And I would go to Cafe Tiffany's and sit and eat breakfast while she was working.
Yeah.
And it's some of my favorite memories.
I feel like that too. There was a picture posted. I can't remember where. It must have been online, like History of the Heartland or something like that. Yeah. Posted an old picture of Franklin Mall and Cafe
I miss
Tiffany.
that.
I know.
It's Bree Law now, I think, right? Or next to it.
No, it's a parking lot. Yeah, it's just the parking lot across from the sheriff's department.
So I'm going to tell this story because it's so funny. The actress, or not actress, the waitress. Where did I get actress? The waitress. What was her name? Do you remember? Well, she didn't know yours either. So Mom would go in there and get food every day. She thought Mom's name, which is, my mom's name is Paula. She thought it was Molly or Holly. And she corrected her once, but she didn't hear her. And so this lady called her Holly for 3 years. They had a break-in. The police come, and they're like, so who's here? And she goes, well, Holly was here. They asked the owners. They're like, there's no Holly that works here. And then she had to tell her, my name isn't actually Holly after 3 years of working with her. I just think that's the funniest thing.
Cringy.
So cringe. Like, she comes here every day. Her name's Holly. That's what it was. She comes here every day. Her name's Holly. They couldn't figure it out. I finally had to tell them.
That's bad.
So, yeah.
Some people just look like a different name.
Yeah, some people do. Maybe you were meant to be Holly.
I know.
Yeah. So my dream is that there's tons of original small businesses that pop up in this city, because I think Decatur treats small businesses really well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that we have a community that loves to support small business. Yep. In fact, the mall's dead, but you know what's thriving? Downtown small business. So, yeah, what's an idea?
For all the people who have deep pockets, we need a bridal.
Ooh.
Where Talbot's was.
Yes, so we have an idea. Anyone with deep pockets that wants to open a bridal store where Talbot's used to be, it's the perfect spot.
That is really one thing missing from...
We don't have formal wear at all.
No, men do. Men have formal...
At Brass Horn.
Yeah, tux rental options.
Yeah, but didn't they close Sino? Sino closed, not Brass Horn. Remember Sino?
But you can rent tuxes from Brass Horn.
Yeah, you can.
What's wrong with Rural King?
Nick.
Can you...
Nick. You can't buy prom dresses, though. Like, there's no formal wear. Like, in Von Mar...
Von Mar used to be the prom dress spot, but...
They be slacking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's not enough options.
But you know what they have a lot of now is home goods. I went into Von Mar recently. So my Grammy was both of my Grammys are exclusive Von Mar gals. And they go, well, one of them, she used to go all the time, but she passed away. The other one, she goes every Wednesday because that's the third markdown day.
Okay.
So I've always gotten just like the best Christmas gifts because she goes and gets them on the third markdown. But Von Mar has changed a lot.
I know.
And their stuff is just not the same.
No.
So Von Mar, if you're listening, and I know you are.
Again, Von Mar, Chick-fil-A.
Bring Chick-fil-A. And let's bring back the better clothes because
Well, so Von Mar in Bloomington is still off the chain.
Is it?
Yeah.
But who wants to drive to Bloomington?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know Von Mar has it in them because the Bloomington store's
that's what
off
I'm
the chain.
saying. Okay, so sharp right turn, bring your good stuff back.
Yeah, to Forsyth.
Yeah, to Forsyth. Because I know you're listening.
Yeah, bridal formal wear, because you can drive to Champaign, Bloomington, and Springfield to get that.
Yeah. But we should have, like, there's tons of brides here.
Yeah. We're a big enough community.
We are. And I think a misconception about Decatur is that there's nothing here. Mm-hmm. And there's actually so much here.
Yeah.
And there's so many people here. Mm-hmm. And somebody said the other day, like, everyone's moving to Florida, or everyone's moving, everyone's leaving. And I was like, I know 4 people who just moved back from those places.
Right.
Yes, they do move away, but they come home.
People come home too.
Yeah. They come home in droves because they're lonely in their big city. Like, they just miss their community.
Yep.
And the cost of living here. Mm-hmm.
You just can't beat it. You can't really live. I mean, it's really difficult to live here and then try to go live somewhere else too.
Especially with inflation and everything. Yeah. I just feel like our economy, you just, I don't know how people afford to live in Chicago or anywhere else. So
it's a gem.
It is. We have a great town.
Any other tidbits? People know how to find you at the studio.
The studio, and then my Instagram is at Samantha.Schendel. Come see me.
Samantha, thank you so much for sharing all of this creative juice.
I feel like it was all over the place, so my apologies, but
it's all good. It is, but we had an agenda.
We did, and I feel like
right from it.
I hope that I answered your questions.
I think you did, and more.
Thank you for having me on. It was kind of fun to be on this side of it.
Yep. Very good.
Very good. All right, stay sweet.
Yep. That's all she wrote.
C'est très jeune.
That's all she wrote.
Thank you for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening. And be sure to follow us for more content on our social media channels at Decatur Earth Mover Credit Union.